Mafias are a strange system. Secretive, complicated. They insist upon being cold and logical, but they hold on to strange, bizarre, and sometimes even downright chilling rituals that are hard to swallow for common people. But always remember this. In everything they do, these mafias always have a method to their madness. And one of the things they take most seriously is their initiation process. It is a series of twisted tests and trials that could get the recruits welcomed into a new family, or it could get them killed off. There really is no in-between. So, let's take a look at perhaps some of the most sinister initiation ceremonies of mafias today. The tasting of blood, Chinese triads. If you really wanted to find out what happens inside Chinese triads, your best bet is this account by an ex-hitman, Y. Hen Cheong, who goes by the name George. What's curious about our friend George here is that in his 1992 trial in the London criminal courthouse, he revealed details so harrowing it might keep you up at night. The first strange thing, they were supposed to meet him at 2 a.m. in the dead of night. The second strange thing, as soon as he arrived, he found out he wasn't the only one invited. There were 9 other men equally confused and completely silent. The room they had gathered in was completely empty. No windows, no furniture, except for this one small table. On the table, there were 3 things: a knife, a bottle of wine, and a paper cut out of a human figure. There was no note, no instruction given, except for this. All 10 men were told to strip to their undergarments and wait for the owner of the place. At that time, Lo Ng owned the building, and he was also the one who conducted the initiation ceremony in an ancient Chinese dialect. The men were told to remove all jewelry. Then they were told to kneel and repeat the words the owner said. But George didn't understand Chinese. He didn't know what he was being forced to say. Later, he would find out that in his complete cluelessness, he made 3 very serious promises.
I mean, the triad in Hong Kong, I can tell you there's a large triad. Sun Yong, 14K, Sing Wo, Shui Fang.
Never betray a brother, never steal, and never to sleep with his brother's wife. If he broke these oaths, the Mafia warned him that he would be tortured until he begged for death. But the story doesn't quite end there. George recalled that his middle finger was pricked, and as the blood dripped, it was collected in a delicate wine glass. Then came another order: put your finger in your mouth. The owner asked him how the blood tastes, to which George replied that it was sweet. Then he was hit across the face with the back of the flat blade of a knife. One thing about the Chinese trials, their emphasis on community was perhaps the biggest part of the Mafia. George would later be involved in the triad's deadliest of crimes, such as the murder of the Hong Kong businessman Ying Kit Lam, who was shot to death by the Chinese triad because they thought that he had set his eyes on the throne of Sui Feng, a man who was like a brother to George in the Mafia. The ceremony of cannibalism, Knights Templar. It is hard not to know about this Mexican cartel. It's even harder to shake off the shivers you get after hearing these stories about them. The Knights Templar cartel has done it all, decapitating victims, ripping them apart alive, and sometimes even boiling people alive. This cartel knows no limits. But what shocked every single person even more was when the Michoacan State Federal Security Commissioner revealed that the cartel regularly forced its members to eat human hearts. In fact, this is part of their initiation ceremony. This part of the initiation ritual was specifically designed to weed out the weak-hearted and the ones who might get cold feet. To be part of the Knights Templar, all the members took an oath that they would have to do every single thing required of them, no matter how grotesque or disgusting the orders may be. And for that, the Knights Templar only accepted the most ruthless of men, the kind of men that had no qualms picking an innocent person and physically ripping their body into pieces. The kind of person that would gladly agree with what the leader of the cartel said. Because the leader of this Mexican cartel was none other than Narcio Moreno, who earned the title El Mas Loco, which very directly translates to the crazy one. And he was the one who introduced cannibalism to the initiation ritual. Sometimes they would bring their victim alive, dismember him in front of the new recruits, and offer them his heart. What's even more chilling is that often these victims were just children who had been trafficked and sold in the organ business. As the children would be brought in, according to some people that had been part of that ceremony, Moreno would stand in front of the others and make an announcement. He would look around and tell them that every single person in that room, both the existing members as well as the new recruits, would eat a human heart together. It was a ritual, a tradition the Knights Templar was pretty proud of, and it was an offer not a single person could ever dare to deny. Because it was all a test by Moreno, who, amongst the recruits, would be the first to get cold feet. And one thing is for sure, you never want Narcio Moreno to find out you disagree with him. The beginning of being a killer. United Blood Nation. But if child cannibalism didn't give you chills, there's always something even worse. United Blood Nation's initiation ceremony is gruesome and bloody.
So you're paying them to use the phone.
And anybody who doesn't have their permission to use phones, they'll attack, they'll slash.
And forces its new recruits right into the killer mindset that the Mafia wants. To be chosen, all applicants are forced to undergo some cruel trials. There is a thing in the Mafia known as slashing. New recruits had to attack and seriously injure any rival gang member, police officer, or enemy of the gang to prove their worth. In fact, they were required to injure their victims so badly that they must require at least 150 stitches. But that isn't the only thing they're asked to do. There is a part of the initiation ceremony called the jump in. Basically what that entails is the new recruit being taken to an empty room and beaten by the gang members for exactly 31 seconds. And during this time, the recruit wasn't allowed to hit back, complain, or even be upset about it. For female recruits, things would be even tougher. According to this one intelligence report by the US Department of Justice, there was yet another part of the ceremony called being sexed in, where the female recruits are pressurized to have sex with some or all of the members of the gang. Part of that welcome gang is getting the Mafia's mark engraved into them, a 3-dot dog paw sign that is usually burned into the skin through cigarettes. After this, the recruits are in. The cryptic recruitment, the numbers gang. The Numbers Gang in Cape Town, South Africa, largely recruits its members from prisons. The strangest part of their ceremony is that the recruits don't even realize what they're signing up for. Usually, the gang chooses prisoners that it believes would be an asset for them, and then send one of its members as a cell cleaner. That member would connect the prisoner to a lower-level leader of the gang called a Daedlas. This Daedlas would then give a riddle to the prisoner to decide what rank in the Mafia to put them in. Here is how the riddle goes. The Daedlas sets a scenario. Suppose it was raining outside and he was standing there all alone. What would the prisoner do? If the answer was something like offering the Daedlas an umbrella, the recruit would be immediately ranked out from the 28th rank, which is the highest in the order. But let's say the prisoner replies that he would go outside and stand in the rain with him. That was what pleased the Daedlas the most. And that, exactly, would have the prisoner placed in the highest rank. Camaraderie, brotherhood, that's what this gang always upheld. Then the prisoner gets a new task. Stab a prison warden or another inmate. He would get a knife and the length of the blade would be determined by a senior member of the gang known as the Nyangi, or the doctor. If the blade was long, the prisoner was ordered to strike to kill. Once this is over, the newest member would meet the other members of the gang. They would have him stripped to his undergarments and inspect every inch of his body for any previous gang tattoos. If they were found, the recruit would have been beaten and killed. This day would be known as the Day of Wrongs. If no tattoo was found, the gang then moves on to the next day, which would be called the Day of Rights. The Nyangi, or the doctor, would approach the recruit. The Nyangi would put a silver pipe on the recruit's left wrist and a gold pipe on the right. And then the doctor would check his pulse and announce that if it is beaten 2 times, the member would be placed in the silver rank. If thrice, he would be placed in the golden rank. After this, the Landrost, or the magistrate of the Mafia, would come forward and give the recruit his stamp of approval. The Landros would carry 4 stamps: white, green, red, and black. These stamps mean promotion. If a silver member is promoted, he takes out his white and green stamp. If a gold member is promoted, he removes his red and green stamp. And if you're wondering about the black, well, the members of the Numbers Mafia only really earned the black band when they were sentenced to death by their fellow members. It was reserved for the weak, the traitors, and those that try to live a different life. This would mark the end of the initiation ceremony. The new recruit is welcomed into the gang where he sleeps, eats, and spends his days in his new rank. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed and learned something new. We will see you in the next one. Until then, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.